Pickleball serve. It seems so simple, but I can't tell you how many students I've had come to me just having the yips or just struggling with their serve. So I like to teach what I consider a very economical, dependable service motion. Again, like all of these strokes that we talk about in pickleball, repeatable, dependable, shot you can count on 95% of the time is what we're striving for. We don't need to add in a bunch of new wrinkles. So for the serve, there's a few rules, and they're not that complicated, so it's pretty easy. They are, you have to strike the ball below your waist. So that means you can't throw the ball up and hit it up here. That would make the ball go high to low. That's illegal. Your paddle face needs to be below your wrist when you make contact. What that's meaning is you can't hit it like this with your wrist cocked up. The other one is it has to be an upward motion. So what they're saying is your paddle needs to start low and end high. If your paddle starts high, that's illegal. One way you can tell if somebody's serve is illegal is if it comes over the net from high to low. That can't happen if they made contact the way they're supposed to. So those are the three main rules. The one that is added, the new serve this past year, is the drop serve. I think this serve, in my opinion, was put in there mostly for people who do have a little bit of a problem with their serve. It's a little easier. You really can't gain an advantage from it. Don't very often see higher level players using it. I think it's something that's very good to have in your pocket if you happen to have a day that you're struggling. The only rule on that is you can't provide downward motion. You can drop it from any height you want. Even if I drop it from my highest reach, it's still not going to bounce above my knees. So it's not like somebody can make it bounce up high and then hit a really aggressive serve. You can also drop this ball in the court. It doesn't have to bounce behind the court. So what I'm saying is I can drop it here and back to that strike zone. What does that do for me? I just dropped the ball in my strike zone. So I'm going to make sure that that's where I make contact. So if I drop it in front of me and hit it, I hit it in my strike zone. So that's the basic rules. Technique on serve. It doesn't need to be a big old swing and wind up. It just needs to be a nice, compact stroke, but with a full return. This is the only shot in pickleball that you actually have to start behind the line. You probably start behind the line on returns, but you might make contact inside the court. So therefore, this is your biggest stroke. So the paddle can come all the way back, your contact is in front of you in the strike zone, and your follow through is full. How do I want my feet to be? So I've seen a lot of people stand like this. This creates a problem. Right now, my hips are pointing over there. I'm going to make contact here, which isn't good. It's not in front of my body. It's going to mean that all I'm getting is a push. I always want to make contact in front. So if I just turn my feet at about a 45-degree angle, I make it so without any effort, I'm going to incorporate my shoulder, my core, my hips, and my legs, because everything is going to come through together. I want my toe to just kind of be pointing at the outside edge of the net. That gives me a good guide to how far I want it to be turned. You can stand this way, and lower level players at the beginning sometimes do. They just don't really know the mechanics that well to serve. They've come on, been told they just hit it in the court. The problem with this stance is all you're going to use is your arm. I call this the elephant arm serve. It's hard to get much on it or change the ball around when all you're using is your arm. So let's see what that looks like. If I'm standing in this position, I take the paddle back about this far, just pointing behind me, and I'll have a full follow through. So without any effort, that ball went pretty hard and pretty deep. I'm pointing my follow through at my target. If I want my ball to go over there, I'm not going to turn my body. I'm just going to change where my paddle ends. My paddle face wants to end up pointing to my target. So from here, I just hit that cross court, my paddle face is facing over there. From here, I just went down the middle. It's pointing right at my target. So the things that you can change on your serve, you can change the speed, the height, the depth, and the spin. The number one most important thing on the serve, besides getting it in, actually that's one of my jokes, the 10 most important things on the serve is 1, get it in, get it in, get it in, get it in, get it in. Anyway, deep. We want our serves to be deep. That makes it a little bit harder on our opponents to make the return deep and hard for us. If you're having trouble getting your serve deep, the best thing you can do is add a little height. People sometimes think that they want that serve to look like this hard whizzing serve, but what does that do? It gives your opponent some pace to use against you, and they hit it back hard as well. If I don't want that to happen, and I want my serve to get deep, I'll just add a little loft. Just like that. That ball landed about 6 inches inside the baseline. All I did different was I added a little loft to it. So that's the mechanics on the serve. The next thing is, where do I want to stand when I serve? A lot of people think, I want to stand over here because it gives me a good angle that I can hit a sharp cross court. It doesn't really do that for you. There might be 1 or 2 people in your club who have that tricky dick serve that just goes over there, but there's ways to take that out and there's ways to make that not happen. What I want to do when I serve is set myself up for success. What does that mean? It means I want to give myself the best opportunity to get the shot I want for my third shot. What I want is a forehand. There's a few people out there who want a backhand. The majority of us want a forehand. So if I stand out here to serve, what's the chances my next shot's going to be a forehand? Not very high. I'm giving all this court up to the backhand. If I stand here, 50-50. Depends how well I move. I might be able to run around it, but if somebody hits it there, return, I've got a backhand. I encourage people, the 95% of us that prefer our forehands, to stand right about here, because now I am pretty darn sure I'm going to get a forehand third. If the ball comes right down here, it's my partner's ball. So I can literally go a whole match and not hit a backhand from the baseline if I stand in the right position. So by standing here, I can serve it, and I'm ready, and I am going to get a forehand for my next shot. I can drive it or I can drop it. I have weapons. Backhand, I'm going to drop. And most of the time your opponents know that if it goes to your backhand, you're not going to drive it. So that puts them in an advantageous position as well. So for serving, it's got to be a comfortable motion for you. This is the most efficient, compact, high percentage motion. Some people like to stand a little bit further back and take a step in. That's okay, although I consider it adding a variable where I would like to have as few variables so that there's less mistakes. But the point of standing in the position to set yourself up, to think ahead and plan on your next shot is very important. So the mechanics and the positioning are the 2 things that will make you have a very effective serve and be successful on your next shot.